Hello and welcome. I'm Liz Booker, literary aviatrix, and today I am excited to talk with a very special guest who I have highlighted in an article in the latest issue of Aviation for Women magazine. Fewer than 10% of pilots and aircraft mechanics are women. These are their stories of tenacity, adventure, and courage. Stories with the power to inspire, heal, and connect. Welcome to the Literary Aviatrix community, where we leverage the power of story to build and celebrate our community and inspire the next generation of aviation. Yogini Modi, welcome.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for inviting me, and namaskar.
Namaskar, what does that mean?
That means namaste. It's the utmost polite way of paying respect to somebody.
Well, namaskar, Yogini. I'm so glad to have you here. So, this is a little bit different. Most of my interviews are about books that feature women in aviation, but every once in a while I write articles, feature articles for Aviation for Women magazine, which is Women in Aviation International's publication. And I was so excited to pitch featuring you in the magazine because I love your story and the energy that you bring to our community. And having learned the background of it when I traveled with you to India, I was so thrilled to tell that story in an article. And what I wanted to do was actually interview you with the option to make it public for everybody to hear more, because of course I'm always limited by my word count in a magazine article, and your story is so fascinating. So why don't you just give us a quick overview of who you are in just a short bio, and then we're going to get deep into the details as we go along.
So, I come from a humble family. My father was a small business owner and a passionate social worker. And that's what encourages me to volunteer with 99 and Women in Aviation now, and all other activities around the aviation. My mother was a homemaker, and she had one very famous saying in the house: you can miss your aim, but you cannot have a lower aim. And means your goal has to be high enough beyond your capacity. And that's what has turned me into what I am today. And I also studied in a Gandhian school, where I learned a lot of good things. And the famous thing I remember is like, your life, Gandhi said, my life is my message. And so I try to live better every day. So that's what I follow. And after my graduation, I joined Indian Army. And I had two siblings, siblings, my brothers. So they contributed a lot in my shaping up too, because now everybody's older to you. So everybody, you get best of everybody because you're learning from them. And I joined Indian Army. I served in Army Service Corps. I am from a completely non-military background. So when I ended up in Army, I basically even did not know what ordnance do and what Army Service Corps do. I ended up in Army Service Corps because of my science background in the college. And Army Service Corps does the management of supplies and transportations. And it was an excellent experience working in Indian Army for 10 years. And I retired as major. And from there, I also, when I was in a college, I started gliding. And the background was the seed was planted by my father. He was very passionate to expose us to every different activity. So if he's going to pick up his friend who's coming by airplane, he will take us to airport to make sure that we get to see, and he will put us in the closest possible place to the plane. And one of that visit I still remember, where I was barely in a grade 2 and my brother in a grade 5th, and we both are hanging on the railing. And those days there was no such a security threat, and the airplane came and stopped 10 feet away from us. And I see the captain walking out, and me and my brother look at each other. And I think that was the day we both must have thought of flying. He started, he joined Air Wing NCC, which is similar to Civil Air Patrol over
Okay.
here. And so I joined following his footsteps, and he became a glider pilot, and then he joined the family business. I continued growing into aviation. I wanted to join Air Force, but because of my eyeglasses, I couldn't join the Air Force. So I was a little disheartened, and I said, I'm going to join Army because I want to see some action. So I end up in Army. I finished my training and report to my unit. And very first day, I read advertisement that they're looking for volunteers for microlight flying. Microlight is a light sport in US definition. And I was like number one volunteer, followed up so many times. And finally, after 3 years, I get a break to go fly with Army. Uh, and that is Army Service Corps had a microlight team, which was for the adventure purpose to bring the best out of the soldiers in their free time and to mm, increase their endurance and confidence. This was the node being raised. So I was one of the pioneer in the raising Army microlight node. And slowly we were flying, learning, teaching. And I was not, I didn't want to curtail myself with the traffic pattern or the just local flying. So I ended up discussing this with my officer in charge of the macrolite node then, and he was very positive. Then Captain Sinha, now Major General, and he said that's a great idea, and we both put an expedition together from Gaya to Bangalore, flying 2,230 kilometers in my microlight. I had to plan entire expedition because going to places, finding the airports in the rural area, and it was let's say reconnaissance for that expedition itself is was an expedition. And we successfully completed that in 2001, establishing three Limca Book of Records. That was one was our team flew the longest microlight flight in country because it was a new concept yet in 1999 and
Oh,
2000.
wow. Okay.
And we flew the banner during the air shows, which was 90 square feet with that little tiny airplane. So you can imagine the amount of drag and agility pilot had to show. And the third one was I was the first woman to fly the longest flight in the light sport category.
Oh, how
Then now,
cool.
of course, I'm very happy that my records are broken and there are a lot many women are doing it. Very glad. So this was the flying seed. And after 10 years of completion of army service, I wanted to be in aviation. And I also wanted to be many things as when I was growing up, just like any child would say, one day doctor, one day teacher. My one of the thing was I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to see outside world how they educate themselves. So at that point, I was like, I can afford either flying or a degree, not both, but flying was also passion. So in limited resources, and finances. So I studied entire world, like wherever I could go and fly, every system, and I decided the birthplace of the aviation with the best resources is the place I want to be to fly. And that's how I ended up in Florida.
So you came to Florida to learn to fly?
I came to do my, so army does not give you civil certification. So I
Mhm.
came to do all my civil certification over here. And it was the one of the best decision I guess I made.
Well, if you fast forward from that part of your story to what I know of you today, so I first met you during COVID. I was trying to get in touch with the local 99s community, and you were on a Zoom call. At the time, you were the chair of the local 99s, the Gold Coast chapter of the 99s. And I was so impressed with you at that point and have, and my view of you has just expanded exponentially since then. Seeing all of the things that you do, I'm privileged to have the opportunity to every once in a while come down and visit your flight school down in Homestead. So, how did you go from coming here and getting your certifications to now being such an incredible active member of the local community? And then I like to say that you import Indians and you train them, and then you send them back to India, and they go and do wonderful things in aviation. And I was so, again, privileged when I was there with the 99s and with you to sit at a table with many, many of your students who had trained here and had gone back and they have launched their careers there. So how did you get from there to here?
It's a long journey, but I enjoyed each day of that. So when I came here in the states for the training, there was two three reasons which caused me make me a decision to be in the US. One was the of course the freedom of flight, the best in the world. Second reason was I had become a member of AOPA, and my instructor had shown me all the tools and I used them expenditiously. It was like it was an ocean and I was just jumping in it every day. I was amazed that they had a hotline for the questions. Those days internet was very limited. So I have probably the instructors over there, they knew me by name. So uh, AOPA impressed me with the idea of bringing the community together and the resources they were offering. I was completely sold. Second thing was I went during my training, I learned that there's going to be Sun and Fun air show. And I read the instructions, everything. I asked in the school. Some people hadn't gone ever. I put the team together. I asked the instructors, and one of two instructor also showed very enthusiasm. Okay, we are going to go, and we did go. Brian, my husband now, then he was my instructor, and I when we landed in Sun and Fun, and as we taxi out, I saw a sign which completely surprised me, which said handicap pilot flying parking. Handicap pilot parking. I kept on saying, and I was like, Brian, is that even possible? And he's like, yes, you have to get a waiver or a special medical certificate. And I was like, India needs to learn this. So when I came, I was doing my training, I was seeing that how much I have to export to India. So, and that's why I decided to import students here. So, not only one person exporting it, it's like multiple people exporting good things from the US to India.
Oh, yeah.
And Third thing I saw, the compass rose. And I was like, that is so beautiful. And he's like, 99s do that. That is their legacy. And I was like, why can't we have it at our school? And I'm just a student and I'm thinking about this. So later on, when I become a FBO owner, first thing I do is I contact 99s. Oh, so but I saw there were so many good things in the aviation here, which people need to know. And we need to keep that general aviation spirit alive and spreading all over the world. And after training, when I went back to India, I did see that I could put up a school together and I can do this. And after a year, I came back and I started the school here.
You didn't know anything about the 99s in India at the time.
So I had read little bit somewhere, but I wasn't aware. And when I came as a student, my focus was I had a limited budget. So
Right.
every day I wanted to just move forward and get it done. And I finished my training in 5.5 months being instructors. So you can imagine from zero to
To
instructor.
instructor.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those days I did not know 99. And when after this meeting, I found out, after Sun and Fun, I found out, but I had no means to travel to 99 meetings.
Mhm.
And it was in my head always. But then first I started the flight school, and when then FBO came, that's when meanwhile I was collecting the information what 99s do and what how they functions. And then I happened to meet a local student who was a member, and I just wrote to them like, I want to come and meet you ladies. And they had a meeting in Tamiami. That was 2017 after I bought my FBO. And that's the first thing I wanted to do, paint a compass rose. And under the leadership of Jane Toplak, the Florida Gold Coast chapter did paint a compass rose at the FBO.
Well, this is amazing. I didn't realize that all of this happened so recently. So let's go back to the school and the FBO. Tell me what inspired you. I mean, you said that you wanted to share the American, the U.S. experience with your friends in India, but why did you need to open a flight school to do that? And how did that come about? And how have you grown? Talk about that.
So for me, coming here to work on my own was very important. And I did not have any family ties to US. I did not know anybody uh, who can give me a job and I can come on a H1 visa or anything. I was reading vigorously and I said, that's it. This is the aviation business is going to get me there, as well as it was meeting my aim that I wanted to bring a lot of good stuff to India. So flight school was for the reason that I wanted to bring everything what I learned, good things from US to India, as well as it was giving me freedom to fly in the US sector legally. So it it was very difficult to start a business with the limited resources. And in the beginning, I had a one lease room and a lease plane. And that's how I started in one corner, the flight school in Homestead. I would wait in the Tiki Hut, the famous Tiki Hut of 99s now. I would wait there for 3 days for the somebody to wander in to fly. In a in the beginning, if I flew 4 flights in a week, I was busy. I was happy that I flew 4 flights. But then slowly, when people started knowing that how passionate and professional I was, and they would come in, and especially somebody had a problem with their instructor, they would come in and I would get them to their certificate level. And that's how the customer base started building. The worst thing was that I started a school in 2010 when the economy was at the lowest point. So it took time to take off. And in the beginning, you have to uh, have the local flight school. Once you establish your required documents and checks by the government, then only you can bring the international students in. So this approval process was slow and it took a little bit of time. But then once we got the approval and we started growing, and then we never looked back. From one plane we ended up now with 13 Cessna 172s, two Senecas for multi-engine training, and a Redbird simulator, and 50 international students at any point.
50 at one time.
Yes, so we have we develop the capacity of 50. We can develop more, but we also want to grow slowly but surely, because all of a sudden expansion does not give you good control over the quality. So Brian and I have decided, like, step by step. And so we have 50 international students, 20 or local students.
Wow, that's
And
incredible.
then, yes, and in 2017, the FBO came for sale. That point, I had only four airplanes. But FBO came for sale, so I went to my landlord and, like, would you consider selling to me? And she said, definitely. You were my biggest customer, because in Homestead, when I walked in first time, there were total 12 airplane at the airport. Yes.
Wow.
And right now we have more than 100 airplanes at airport. So she said, yes, I would. And I dared to buy the FBO. We needed the space, and everything worked out very well. Mm, what happened was, once after buying the FBO, like, airport became the second home. And today, when I spend more time at the airport than my home.
Oh, I believe that. I've seen you out there. And one of the things that I love is you embrace these international students as if they're your own family. So kind of talk about that and how you kind of take care of them.
So at Pilot Training Center Homestead, what we do is, and what I learn, I'm not doing anything special. What I learn in the US aviation, I am just building on that. When I came to US, I had met few pilots who always came to airport for the hangar talk, but then they were also very helping, guiding. So what we do at our school is, when they come, they're part of the PTCH family. And we don't have to advertise commercially in India or any other country. Most of our students come with the reference. So one student goes back and they almost send four students. So mm, everybody knows somebody. Then I'm also retired major from Indian Army. And when parents know that, so they know that they are going at the right door. In India, Army also has a lot of respect. And so they know that their child is not going to getting involved into any other activity but flying, and they will get the best service. And then we also, with our uh, policies, we have on a really good name amongst the student. They know that we follow the rules and we will get best flight training we can. If we don't follow the rules, we will have to leave the school. So that ensures the everybody behaves and meets their goals and go back after completing their training. So we give them a best training, and simultaneously we also provide them the accommodation which is fully furnished. So the student has to come with the suitcase, unpack it, start the training from the very next day. I do believe in when you have a comfort of home or homely feeling, person progress is faster. So we celebrate all the local festivals. We even celebrate the, if we have a South American student or Middle Eastern student, we celebrate all the festivals they celebrate. So that makes them part of the family, and feel the, gives the sense of belonging.
When I look at the way that you run that, I think of it as a military command, and you're the commanding officer, and you
I
take care of your people. That's how I see you. Yeah,
That's what I have learned. Like I
exactly.
got out of the college, and what first thing I saw, my first job was Indian Army.
Right.
So what I have seen is the unit, and sometimes I think, sit back and think like I have created a nice unit.
You certainly have. You're the training command.
Yes. Yes.
Now, when we were in India, I met your good friend Preeti, and you talked about sort of that relationship. I know you've said that a lot of your revolving students come from word of mouth from the students who have graduated, but it sounds like Preeti is pretty heavily involved in supporting their move over here. So, talk a little bit about that relationship and tell us about her.
So I was Preeti is my course mate. We were 34 of us, and even today we all are connected to each other, regular basis, daily basis. Preeti is my buddy. So like in when you have enter in the academy, they pair you up with another cadet, and she was my buddy. So I would take any fall for her, she would take any fall for me. And we were in communication. We were doing well. Preeti was doing her business, and then for family reasons, she had to pause the business. And flight school was doing well. And talking to international students and parents across the country was draining me. Like I was awake in the middle of night or late night or early morning, and then you have office work. And I was looking for somebody who can be part of the school, not any commission agent, uh, who also value the good service and shares the same value which I and a PTCH do. So, and Preeti, I was like, Preeti, you can do this, if you want to. This is very limited time communication you will have to give in during the day, and it will be best because now the parents and them, they can talk to you during the Indian daytime. So she agreed and she started working. So the best part of Preeti working is she echoes everything I believe in for, and she in fact brings more value because of her uh, management degree from the Indian Institute of Management. She did, after retiring from army, she did the Indian Institute of Management course, and which is equivalent to Harvard in India. And
Aha, that's
yes,
incredible.
and then So me and Preeti, we don't have to like make any connection or any small talk to start the talk. In fact, first time when she started working in Brian heard me talking to her and he's like, that is so weird. You just pick up a phone and tell her to do this. And I was like, yeah, and she would do the same thing. And he's like, that's a great connection that you don't have to explain a lot and you can get things going. And so Preeti has taken over as international student coordinator. So she selects all the students, she approaches all the inquiries, approaches to her. Then Preeti also does some vetting for us because we don't want any student who is not interested in aviation. And after that, she will help them to onboarding procedure, guide them for the visa application, guide them how the school works. She starts prepping them to what to expect when you go to school, not in terms of any ground classes or flight training, but the what is the school culture, what is expected out of you. And she does very important role in building the students character from India.
Well, I really got a sense of your camaraderie when I was there. You clearly you've been friends for a long time. You guys were showing me the Indian dance moves out on the dance floor. I loved it. I had so much fun with you guys. It seems like a great partnership and a very fruitful one for both of you. I love it so much.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that's fascinating to me is the differences in, well, so first of all, we haven't even mentioned the fact that India has the highest percentage of their pilots who are women. It was 15% when we were there last year, which is incredible. And you have graduated many women. Do you know what the percentage of women you've graduated, or maybe the number?
So out of my all Indian students, I have graduated almost 19.8%.
Go, girl.
And last year, one batch, at one point, I had a 40% students were female students, and I was so on the top of the earth. The second thing I noticed when I was in India, and I said in my presentation over there, that we missed the very important number. 2023, Indian DGCA issued the licenses. Out of that, 23% were female pilot. 23% were female pilots license were issued in
In
2023.
2023, really?
Yes. So
Wow.
I do look forward, like in coming year, 2 years, the Indian percentage of woman representation will be very high.
Well, and this was what was just mind blowing when I was there, listening to sort of the companies and like their embracing. And it did not sound like lip service, it sounded very genuine. So, talk a little bit about the differences between, in the US. I can't remember the number because I never went this path, but for civilians to get to the point that they can get an ATP and be a commercial pilot, flying for an airline, the hour requirements are very different. So your students literally are going back and getting jobs at the airlines. So talk a little bit about that.
So in India, to be a first officer in the airline, you don't need airline transport pilot certificate. You don't need ATP. You can be with the commercial pilot. You can be the first officer in the airline. So all the students, once they go back, they do have to conversion process uh, to do with the GCA. They convert their pilot certificate which they earn from US. They have to pass three tests and telephony test, and then they get their Indian certificate. But what we do as a school is to expedite their progress. We tell them to pass those papers before coming here. And so that way they have a little bit background in the aviation. They have understood the few concepts of the aviation, and the training in the US becomes little faster, saves them some time and money. uh, these students, when they go back, they have to convert the license and then apply for the job. And fortunately, Indian aviation sector is booming right now. Every Indian company is hiring, and what I know, like multiple companies have new airplane orders pending. So as well as Indian government is activating more and more airports uh, for commercial aviation. And because of that, this growth is going to continue for many years.
And I even heard the air minister talking about growing the rotary wing portion of the aviation industry there as well, which, as a helicopter pilot, I was
Yes.
cheering for that.
Yes, that is on card. And now the cities being so big, people would start using helicopters like they do in Sao Paulo in Brazil. That's
Yeah.
what one. I mean, 10 years down the road, I won't be surprised that India would have flying taxis and helicopters.
Yep. Yeah. No, me neither. So, you've had the opportunity to do something really cool, and I was really happy for you. You recently attended a partnership which I'm so enamored with. I am a graduate of the Master in Public Administration program at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, and Women in Aviation International partnered with them a couple of years ago to start a program, which is a women's leadership in aviation program. I was just over the moon when I saw they did that. And you recently had the opportunity to participate. Talk about that experience.
Oh my God. That is, I would say, like, yes, it was the moon. I would say I said I had many dreams. One of the dream was study abroad. And when in India, when you talk about university, the Indian parents and brothers, everybody wants the best, like best university is Harvard or Columbia, Stanford. So Harvard name was in the mind. Of course, I didn't study academically so well. So that was a distant dream. But then when I read about Women in Aviation Leadership course, I was like, this is the scholarship I want to have if I ever want to have a scholarship. And then when I was talking to in India, because of my lot of projects on hand in the business, I was talking to you like I plan to go next year. And I still remember the morning 8 o'clock we were eating breakfast and we discussed this, and you said, just do it. You never want to put it back, because now is the time in the life that is time of doing what you wanted to do. And I was like, she's absolutely right. And of course I learn about your Harvard background, and I'm always, I haven't said this, but I'm always mesmerized by your project, literally aviatrix, and talking about books. That is one of my dream. When I retired, I want to be working in the bookstore.
Oh, I love
So
that. Maybe we can start a bookstore together.
yes, we do. Definitely. So, and I see uh, how well organized growth you are generating with your organization. It's like unbelievable. I am very, like, you are my motivation. I am not saying because I'm on the podcast, but I always like how organized and meticulous you are. So I was
See,
like,
that feeling is so mutual. It
so
is. I
I
mean, that's a mutual respect that we have for each other, the way that we approach our projects. But I will say that a lot of the skills that I employ in this project come from my experience at Harvard. So, what do you think it's going to give you? Talk about it.
so when go, I came back from India after talking to you, and the days go by, and I realize, oh, today is the application day, last day of the application, and 3 hours before I submitted the application, and I was keeping my fingers crossed. And after 15 days, I heard that I will get to go to Harvard, and my husband supports me all the way, and he was so happy. Like, he was more happy for me going to Harvard than myself. At Harvard, I learned so many things. First and foremost, I met so many incredible women. We were 30 of us, and it was amazing experience everybody was bringing on board. And the professors had such a tremendous knowledge, the organization and the way they put across, it was mind blowing. And recently in a Harvard chat, they were talking about, did anybody use that power pose? And I said, I don't know about power pose, but I have noticed that I have become more assertive. I have become more efficient and more bossy. So, but no, definitely Harvard teaches you, even in those short time, it taught us how to communicate well, how to be well aware of the situation, and how to put across your point, and if there is any hurdles, how you will overcome. And I'm going to use this throughout my life.
Well, I know you were a solid investment. I knew that. That's why you got that encouragement from me. I don't run around telling everybody that they should apply to Harvard programs, I promise. So, you were absolutely a solid investment, and I know that you're going to put it to work. So talk about that. The last time I saw you, there was a bulldozer and some stuff going on. There's like a new hangar. Where is your business going? What's your vision for the future?
So we are building a 13,600 square feet hangars for the Homestead Airport and adding 55,000 square feet of ramp. This is the first, I would say, second development, but the biggest development in 30 years at Homestead. The first one was I installed a modular office for the flight school, but this is the one of the big project, and we are looking forward to bring some jet and big planes to the homestead, as well as make sure that we have adequate hangar facility as the weather is becoming stronger and stronger. So we are gearing up for that too. And what my dream is, when I came to Homestead, there was one employee on the Homestead Executive Jet Center, and the other side FBO was run by owner themselves. So the airport basically had one employee, and a skydive had two or three employees. Today we have 40 employees at the airport, full time, part time, but 40 people in my team. And we also bought Homestead Executive Jet Center, which is a west ramp where we do all 99 activities. And then on the east ramp, there was another owner, and we purchased that business in 2022. So we have seen that hangars are always in demand. So that's the first and foremost things I see. I also hope that county extends the runway to 5,500 feet. And so more business and more uh, airplanes. When the airplane owners come to the airport, they invest into the local community. So I want to bring that to Homestead. I believe that I grew up in Homestead and in my business, in my US life. So I owe that to the Homestead.
Well, I love flying there because, as you know, South Florida, the chart is jam packed with circles all up and down the coast. And I flew professionally out of Opelika up and down the coast in a Coast Guard helicopter, obviously. And it's very, very busy. And Homestead is to the west in the Everglades, and it's a little quieter there. I go gliding. That's really the only thing that I do with any frequency there. But I like that it's a little quieter. But obviously not you have lots of business there. I hear of times when the pattern is full because you've got so many students in working on their instruction there. But you don't have to deal with transiting all those other airports to get to your practice area and that kind of thing, which is good, just good efficient use of your flight time when you're in training, I think. Yeah.
That's what the one reason I chose Homestead, because
Yeah.
we have two runways. We had every activity: gliding, paramotors, the
Yeah.
skydivers, helicopters flying for the national park services,
Mhm.
and then school. So that was the main reason I chose Homestead. Like, airport has everything which you will look for.
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, Yogini, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap things up?
I want to talk about 99s and women in aviation. They have given me so much. I have learned a lot of good things from them, and I also ended up contributing some. I thought I was giving a lot to 99 in terms of scholarships, in terms of use of FBO and everything, and I loved every moment of this. But now I'm in debt to women in aviation because they sent me to Harvard. And I plan to work along with women in aviation too. And hopefully, I will come up with some good ideas inspired by Harvard. And uh, I should take the community one step forward, just like what we do in 99s. I should be more active in women in aviation too.
Yeah, let's just talk about the specific scholarships that you offer and are intimately involved in. Talk about those for a second for anybody who is looking for scholarship opportunities.
So, Florida Gold Coast chapter of 99 used to offer Frank Sargent Scholarship, which is annual award for a pilot above private pilot to pursue their instrument or commercial pilot training.
Hmm.
I had lost my nephew, who was a commercial pilot, whom me and Brian both taught. After a short illness, he passed away in India. And so, in his memory, as well as Brian's father was FA inspector. So, we wanted to keep their memory alive. And so, we were looking to offer a scholarship. And these are the days when we didn't have a lot of money to spare. But my father always said, like, you don't need money. You just should have will to do something good. And so I came up with the idea, like, we can offer a unlimited written FA written test scholarship for a year to somebody. And what that does, it most students I have seen, they get bogged down because one, they push back on the written because flying is always a fun, study is a secondary, right? But if they have a scholarship, they would make sure that they avail it and pass the written test, and that expedites their uh, training. So, with that intention, we started Harsh Modi and Robert Shelton FA Unlimited Written Test Scholarship, under which we give uh, three different awards. It's one is for the woman pilot, and I'm not a gender bias, so one is for Friends of 99, and the third one is for the uniform person who served in armed forces, because uniform for me all over the world is one community, and so I wanted to include that too. And so we award this for last, I think, more than 6 years, the scholarships. And then I work with my business ideas, how to generate a little bit more money in the 99s, and I reach out to the neighboring nonprofits who gives a lot of grants. So we ended up having, in last 2 years, every year we got $10,000 scholarship from Ocean Reef uh, charitable foundation, and that gave last year two pilots $5,000 each, and both of them completed the training. So that is one of the very major milestone we achieve. And I have ideas to take this scholarship from the Florida Gold Coast chapter of 99s to the next level, hopefully. And thank you for helping me in that.
Well, I did have the privilege to sit on a couple of those scholarship selection committees and really gained an appreciation for how much it costs to learn to fly, since I didn't have to pay for it because I did mine in the military,
Right.
and just the various creative ways in which our aspiring pilots pursue their certifications so they can live their dream. And I wanted to also say, I mentioned that I was recently interviewed by the 99s for their and I know that you sent that to Preeti. She sent me a note, and I mentioned in that that my first bond, my first strong relationship with an aviation organization dedicated to women was WAI, and it was through the Coast Guard's participation in their conferences that I was able to kind of take on a leadership role and kind of strengthen that organizational bond between the Coast Guard and WAI. I had dabbled with the 99s, but I didn't really understand where I fit because I was on active duty and most of those women were airplane owners in the community that I was in Los Angeles. And so I just was like, couldn't figure out how to plug into them. So what I wanted to tell you is that you are a significant reason that I feel as warmly and passionate about the 99s as I do. Now, of course, I appreciate their history and the organization, what they represent, but my feeling of belonging and my enthusiasm for volunteering and participating in our local chapter of the 99s is largely thanks to you and your leadership and the goodwill that you put out in the community. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. And I did see that difference between 99 and WAI when I went for the first time this year in the Denver conference, annual
Mhm.
conference. I was very, very impressed at how highly organized, and it was next level. It
Yeah.
was it was tremendous effort to bring the leadership roles out of each and every participants over there.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy, and I want to mention here, I met Indian woman whom I would have never thought or could have never connected. She is Tanvi Prasad, and she is one of the head of the drone manufacturing company.
Right.
And I was surprised. She was in the past Harvard batch,
Oh,
and
cool.
so I met her in the meeting. And then after that, when I went for my conference, I went for the Harvard course. There were
Hmm.
three Indian origin women. One came from uh, Emirates, and one came from Canada. So it was so amazing to see like how WAI connects people from all over the world. We had a lady from the Africa. It was amazing. And we had an Airbus captain. She was African origin but works with the Emirate, and she's Airbus captain. And so WAI brings the best of the best together, and they are building up a one beautiful network. That fabric is going to give a lot of upliftment to the tomorrow's woman.
Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't even talk about the special relationship between the Indian 99s and the US 99s. I had read a little bit about it. So, our friend Manisha Puri wrote
Right.
this book. From Saris to Stripes, in which she kind of highlights various women from Sarla Thukral up until today, and the history of women in aviation in India. So I had learned a little bit of it, and then we got to meet Mohini Mam,
Yes.
who was part of that original group who connected with the women in the United States, and they sent Indian women came to the States to do some training, and then you're carrying on that legacy. But what's wonderful about WAI, to kind of expand on that, is that they also include the rest of the aviation industry and not just the pilots. And so you
Yes.
just get, we have our place in the 99s, which is wonderful and enriching and so important. And then we have this other community of Women in Aviation International that brings in the rest of the community, because you can't fly a plane without the rest of it, right?
That is very essential to have everybody together. And I was very amazed to hear the stories of the participants in the annual conference. Like they
Yeah,
were flight uh, pursuers, they were coming there for 10 years for the conference.
that's
Like
right. Yeah. I've
that
been
was,
going since 2008, 2009. So yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what I've decided that next conference I'm going for all 4 days, not just one day.
Good. Oh, good. Yes, please come hang out at the bookshop.
That's what my aim was. Like I'm going to volunteer with you, so I can do, and maybe we will build a we will build the idea for the bookshop.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. We can work on that. Well, Yogini, thank you so much for your time. I'm so inspired by you. I can't wait for this article to come out, and I can't wait to see how your business grows and how you thrive.
Thank you very much, Liz. I appreciate this is an honor, and I appreciate your guidance, your contribution to the community, and you always there with the strong ideas, and I love it.